This is Common Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason Glick.
Hey,
Welcome.
John. Yeah, it's like good to hear from you. It feels like it's been a while since we've done this.
Yeah, like I think the last time we it feels like the last time we even talked was like the last decade or something.
Yeah, like there's some weird time dilation going on here.
Yeah, exactly. So, uh, so what do you have in store for us today?
Okay, well, it's something I've been waiting to read. It's like ever since it was announced, and this would be Jonathan Hickman's X-Men relaunch, House of X and Powers of X, and because this is such a big event for X-Men, it's like we needed to get all hands on deck this time. So hey, Myron, welcome back.
Thank you for having me on for this one.
Oh yeah, it's like yeah, because hey, value your opinion, and I know you've been reading and enjoying this one too, from what I've heard.
Oh, most definitely. I'm really stoked to see what's in store for the X-Men moving forward.
Nice, but I guess before we start talking about the issue, the miniseries itself or themselves, it's like I guess we should probably mention like where all of us are in terms of like X-Men comic book reading fandom, because well, I think it's safe to say that more people have stopped reading the X-Men like than are currently reading them by a wide margin.
Yeah, I mean, at least for me, I was a very avid X-Men reader, back in, the 90s, back when, Jim Lee was drawing and then the Kubert brothers were drawing. And then I just kind of got totally lost in, well, I think I just got totally lost and out of comic books during that period. And I think maybe early 2000s when Ultimate X-Men were released, I started to get back into it a little bit, but then again kind of fell out. I just got totally lost what was going on in the world of X-Men, the latest struggles and eventually like newer characters started, coming on board, and I just, it didn't really fit or pertain to what I grew up with, that classic, 90s X-Men team. So for me, like this is the first time in a long time. Well, actually, I lie. I did buy into all new X-Men when that launched back in, early 2010s, but I didn't really collect the entire line. This one, when I read that Jonathan Hickman was going to reboot the X-Men status quo, I really was intrigued. And of course, me personally, who likes to buy individual issues, this is the most expensive comic book line ever because, as John can attest, we were chasing those variants like, you know, like leprechauns for pots of gold and everything. So I really did get into the whole buy-in of X-Men, House of X, Powers of X, because I paid attention to the dates, I paid attention to what variants were coming out, so I could make a list on what to hunt for. And even though I spent a lot of money, this is one storyline I am proud to have in my collection.
Yeah, so yeah, Marvel appreciates your patronage.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, you better give me something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And John, as I understand it, like you've probably been following the X Men, or we're following the X Men like longer than either of us.
Yeah, and I mean, I tried to get back into it. What was it about a couple years ago? When they redid the whole, like they had like the X Men '94 series. Do you remember seeing that? Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. It's like that was yeah, it was based on the animated series.
Yeah, basically. I mean, got some cool nostalgic, member berry feels to it. But yeah, it's true. And even going back further than that, like Wolverine's still like my number one character. Love reading about him before. And Myron, you remember the Jim Lee days, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, those that to me is classics right there. I mean, I know it goes beyond before that, but honestly, I didn't care until like, well, the late '80s, honestly. So yeah, this is and this I'm really excited about. And it's good to see that they've opened it up and done something. You know, I mean, Old Man Logan's cool, but all of the variations, they just needed to reset the bar. I think that that's what we're really dealing with here.
Yeah, it's like that's I think that's absolutely what's going on here because it's like I mean like these two minis. miniseries. I mean, like they're both setting out like the current what the X-Men are like in the present day of the Marvel universe, but they're also making big changes to their past and future as well. So because I guess that the because like it's kind of hard to like really sum up like the general plot of these two miniseries because House of X has the more conventional structure. It's basically that shows the X-Men. They're now living on Krakoa, which is now a giant island in the Pacific and has sites in the Pacific and the Atlantic.
A mutant island.
A mutant island. Yes, and it's basically like giving the X-Men their own home nation and a means from which to interact with the with the world on a national on a national scale. Because the one of the first things we see in the first issue of House of X are these foreign dignitaries going to negotiate with with the leadership of Krakoa. Only instead of getting Xavier as the warm welcome, they get Magneto. Who, it's great because Magneto's not just doing his old crazy homo superior routine. No, he's just he basically knows that everyone's better, that they're better than them, and he's just saying, hey, no, I'm just waiting for you guys to acknowledge it because hey, at the very end of the issue, he lays out their new status quo. You have new gods now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's and Hickman, he just does a good job of setting out just how this new status quo is meant to work. I mean, just seeing when the Fantastic Four earlier in the issue when they capture Sabretooth after he's been working with Toad and Mystique to break into this damage control site. It's Cyclops shows up immediately afterwards to try and negotiate with them. And it's all tense because Reed's it's the whole question of Reed and Scott going hey, are we gonna have a problem here? I don't know. Are we gonna have a problem here? That kind of dialoguing until Scott basically tells them that okay, you know what? Hey, we can let this go because we can come back at a later time. But hey, just so you know, whenever Franklin's ready to come over, come over to Krakoa, it's he's got family here. You know that.
Yeah, his son. Yeah.
Yeah, because Franklin's also a mutant, but that's something that gets kind of glossed over. It's in the general continuity. But Hickman, to my pleasure, he does a great job of integrating lots of old, weird continuity in here, just from random damage, mutant death stats to who's been attributed to the deaths have been attributed to various mutant murderers. Just to all the history and the future history as well. But just with getting back to the overall structure of House of X, it's basically that House of X miniseries is just basically detailing the current status quo. The new life on Krakoa, their new government, the amnesty that's been offered to A-list villains like Apocalypse, Sinister, Exodus. It's because hey, we're trying to make a new start here. It's give a fresh start for everyone, and but also the other the other anti-mutant organizations going and they've been subsumed under this thing called Orcus, who are basically trying to create this thing called the Mother Mold, which it turns out that we find out later that this is a big deal, not just because hey, it's just a sentinel that creates other master molds, but this also might be the first step in creating the Nimrod indestructible super sentinel, which kind of leads us into the Powers of X summary, because Powers of X or Powers of 10, but come on, man, it's an X-Men title with X in it. It's I can't expect me to pronounce it Powers of 10. So, but Powers of X basically each issue takes place in 4 different time periods. 10 years before the founding of the X-Men, the present day, 100 years after the present day, and then 1,000 years after the present day. So basically it's oh, go on.
No, I was just saying they're delineated in the sections as X1 and X2 and
it was X0, X1, X2, X3.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, this is more ambitiously structured of them, because it's it's kind of hard to tell what the coherent storyline is going to be if you're telling it in 4 different time periods. But it actually kind of works out pretty well because the, pre- like the past stuff basically kind of it's kind of like subtly retconning various events from like Xavier's first meeting with Moria to Moria McTaggart to Xavier and Moria's meeting with first meeting with or one meeting with Magneto that turns out to have like far-ranging consequences, to Xavier talking with Forge about doing all sorts, like I'm trying to find ways to like build like a backup for all the mutant minds on the planet, to their to also like Xavier's first meeting with Mr. Sinister, who thanked Hickman so much for going back to Kieran Guyland's absolutely fabulous version of Mr. Sinister. It's like the guy who is clearly flamboyant, who was like going for like a super villain who he thinks, hey, I need a cape. Why don't I have a cape? God damn it. It's like, and also just how he's also just like he's got his own newsletter, the Red Diamond, which talks about, it's like mutant secrets that are going around, and which is clearly like foreshadowing for like for future storylines, like in Hickman's run. But the overall structure for Powers of X is the present day stuff is also meant to flesh out like corresponding bits in House of X, but then you've got the 100 years future time frame, which is basically like not Days of Future Past, where their X-Men are struggling against the Nimrod Sentinels. It's like a man-machine supremacy, and then there's year 1000, which is when we think that that Mutanity has finally overcome its war against machines and is ready to begin the ascension to godhood by linking their minds with the universal intelligence nodes, the Phalanx. But overall, it's like I really enjoyed this because even if Hickman does kind of rely on a lot of familiar stuff, like with hey, we're fighting against the Sentinels, we're fighting against like a new anti-mutant organization. And we've got and like the future for X-Men is shit, as it always is. It's all executed with supreme confidence. Everything that he says, it's like, hey, he knows why it's here, and this is everything that is being said is in the furthering of a larger goal here. Because, well, I mean, Myron Johns, you guys read X-Men into the 90s, that there was so much shit being set up in the 90s, just plot threads dropped here and there that never went anywhere. It was just, hey, we're just going to throw this at you. We're going to throw about, hey, there's a third Summers brother out here. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who I can't remember who it was. I remember that there was a third Summers brother.
It was Gabriel Summers. That stray line of dialogue to Mr. Sinister was basically never got answered until the X-Men Deadly Genesis miniseries, which is good, but it was also a huge retcon from Ed Brubaker, basically designed to address that stray line of dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, this was for me, this was a very interesting series on, and I think in a very important series on rebuilding the X-Men. I mean, I leaned more towards House of X over Powers of X as far as like my enthusiasm to read, I want to get through this, but it all came together to paint the bigger picture. But one thing that really I think struck me in the heart and took me out of this was Xavier's change in the Dream. We all grew up knowing that Xavier's dream was for humans and mutants to live in harmony, and that's why he established the X-Men. And to your point earlier, how the future of mutants is always shit and they always lose. I mean, Xavier kind of stuck by his guns to where we could prove that we can live in harmony and live side by side as long as we help help mankind and protect them. I really love the fact that Moira was the key point in this story on him changing his philosophy. So that went out the window, like where Xavier mentioned, I've learned from hard truths that us living in harmony isn't going to work out. So my new dream is for us to have our own nation, and you recognize us as a nation, and in turn we have gifts we can offer your society, in extending life and curing diseases. And I don't give these gifts freely. We'll go through the proper processes of applying and becoming a new nation, but you will recognize us. And I thought that was very powerful in not only mutantdom standing up and reclaiming its piece of the world, but it really set Charles Xavier, at least to me, in a whole new light.
And
Yeah.
it's like a cleaner version of Genosha.
Yeah, it was it's a cleaner version of Genosha, and they actually have they have a plan. And like I said, Moira X is the key. I would say she's the key to all this, because issue 2 was by far my favorite read in this in this storyline. And without, like, just giving all the details away, we learned that she
No, like I'd say this is something we can't talk about because
we can't or
we
can.
can. Because,
Okay.
Because this is like really key because
It's
like-
yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
So,
basically like the short version is like Bill Murray lived the Groundhog Day.
yeah.
She's living the Groundhog life.
Yeah, when you find out that she's a mutant, and it's like, oh, that's crazy. I never would have thought that. But her ability in general is reincarnation. She can relive her life with her previous memories and her previous lives intact. Like, she can change the course and create alternate timelines. And one thing I loved about this book that Hickman added, those insert pages where it shows the lives of Moira X, and through each of her lives shows what happened and what she did differently.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I love the sleight of hand he does in the very first one because there's one life that's completely blanked out. But then
Mhm.
there's one where it's basically like ... And then you find out, oh, so later on these are the lives she lived, and that I thought that was genius. It's like,
Yeah.
It's just kind of, I think it speaks to, like, one thing that I love about Hickman's writing style is that he is a man with a plan. Nothing he does is like without that significance. It's like where I express my displeasure with like X-Men plotting in the 90s. Hickman, after his work on Fantastic Four and especially Avengers, like shows that that he knows how to do like long-term plotting in a superhero universe. So even if things might not turn out 100% to plan, I at least believe that there is a plan, and he's going to devote all as much energy as he can to making sure that it all works out. It's according to what he's done so far.
Yeah, and I think the blocks are there. I mean, just like what, to your point earlier, how the overall goal was to bring all mutantdom under Krakoa, whether that was villains, worst of the worst, whoever. After seeing that issue where they extended the invitation to Apocalypse and all other mutants, and when Apocalypse came to Krakoa and kind of set aside, his philosophies and shook hands with, Charles Xavier.
Well, he wasn't exactly like setting aside his philosophies. He was just basically acknowledging, okay, so I've always argued that mutantdom is superior, and now you guys, you guys are finally acknowledging that yourselves. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but also I want to get back to what you guys were talking about with Xavier, in the sense that he's kind of given up on his dream, and that on one hand that's actually like a pretty reasonable conclusion to come to, in the sense that after everything that he's been doing for how long have the X-Men been around now, 60 years at this point. So I mean, it's not surprising that he would try embrace this kind of separatist doctrine. But at the same time, I think we can all agree that something isn't right here, because you notice how, except in the flashback scenes in Powers of X, we never see Xavier's face. He's always wearing Cerebro.
True. Yeah.
There's something to that. It's like I I mean I don't. I mean, it could just be that he takes it off at one point and we realize that, oh shit, it's Cassandra Nova from Grant Morrison's X-Men run. But it's like it might not be it, but there's something. But like I said, there's something going on there. It's like, and like also there's that bit with when he talks to Namor, like I think it's in House of X. I think it's in one of the 5th issues, where he basically he's given trying to bring in all the mutants on board, and even though Namor's also a mutant, he basically tells Xavier, okay, so you're telling Namor basically tells Xavier, it's like, okay, you think that I think that I believe you finally recognize mutantdom's superior place in society. No, I don't. Come back when you actually believe this. Yeah, so it's like there's something going on here, and I also think that's kind of speaks to the larger issue set up with these 2 miniseries, because this is a very drastic break with the current like with what X-Men were like, even just like the month before they launched, and I'm thinking like it's all the better for it, really, because it's like because it's clear now the X-Men disassembled, and then Age of X-Man, and then Matthew Rosenberg's 2 issues were just kind of like, basically just a big extended fill-in thing in order to give Hickman time in order to spool things up for this run. But we've basically gone from the X-Men being kind of at their lowest ebb to just basically on top of the world, baby. It's like, we've got our mutant nation, we've got culture, we've got our language. It's like we've got drugs we're giving to everyone. It's amazing. It's
don't forget immortality.
Yeah.
Yes. And oh man, it's like I have no problems with this, because it's like, hey, X-Men are dying and being brought back all the time. Having it's like having like a legitimized resurrection function for this. Hey, I'm cool with this. It's like you just finally no more stories about, oh shit, Cyclops died. Oh shit, Wolverine died. Oh shit, Steve Gray's dead again. So hey, with death was already kind of a joke in X-Men titles. So just the fact that we've got this. It's like we've got this get out of jail free card basically means that, okay, we can stop focusing on like cheap deaths. Like if there's going to be a death, it's going to have some sort of meaning to it. Kind of like what's going on with Destiny, the foremost mutant precog, who told Moira in her 3rd life, hey, you got to live better or else I will come find you and take you out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also kind of problematic here, because if you can bring back any mutant, Mystique has been basically demanding that they bring Destiny back as part of her services for the for Krakoa, and but Moira and Xavier and Magneto basically said, no, that's not gonna. Have basically privately said amongst themselves, no, that's something that cannot happen.
They keep putting it off.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, I think that's kind of like the first step in the downfall of this thing, because I think because like I said, what Hickman has done in these 12 issues is build a glorious mutant present, something that basically gets away from all the awful hated and feared stuff that's been driving the series for a long time. Basically gives them a place to belong, a place to relax, a place to call their own. So, but the thing is, that shit never lasts. The fact that he's made such a drastic change to the status quo. My biggest fear with this run is that we are basically going to be making one large march back to the status quo. And well, on one hand, that's kind of what happened with his Avengers run, with Secret Wars, basically being a pretty interesting whack of the reset button as far as that goes. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be bad. I mean, he's got a plan. Hickman basically said that, I could break all the toys I want, just as long as I put them back together again. It's and put them back in the box. Marvel's fine with that. So I get the feeling that, yeah, it's in the end, it's this glorious new day on Krakoa. It's not going to last. I'd love for it to last. and there's a chance it still could, but everything I've been reading and all the time I've been like reading superhero comics basically tells me that we are this that the structure of his run is going to be like one long walk back to the status quo because
It-
that's how these things always work.
Yeah, and I mean, he's kind of world building and literally, this together. But yeah, I'd have to say it's like all good things must come to an end, as Shakespeare had written. So yeah, it seems like the writing's on the wall for that, and then it will be, then it will be, huh? Well, let's see what they do. Probably just bring back more of the X-Men tropes that we're familiar with.
Yeah,
But at the end of this series, I was just pleased to see, just like the Ewoks had in Return of the Jedi, their yub yub celebration. I was happy to see the X-Men have their yub yub celebration in Becoming a Nation. Wolverine, Scott, and Jean sharing a beer, just everybody partying, and Dazzler showing her fireworks display. It was nice to kind of get that feel at the end, like, oh, they finally won, they accomplished it.
Yep, I
this
agree.
is true. Yeah, it's like, and I like the bit at the end where like like I mean, House of X basically has like Magneto and Cyclops saying, Magneto and Xavier basically saying, look at what we've built. It's like, and then at the end of Powers of X, it's like, look at what we've built. Let's see them try to take it away from us.
Yep.
It's yeah, I think it's like I said, these two miniseries are as great a statement of intent as you could ask for an X-Men relaunch. And even if it's going to be like one big long march back to the status quo, I think that Hickman's at least going to make it interesting. Like there's like so much stuff. There's like lots of questions I've got here, just like from what Sinister's got planned to when Mystique is going to execute her sudden but inevitable betrayal of the X-Men. It's like to just like why Xavier's been wearing like Cerebro like throughout the entirety of the present day. So.
Oh yeah, and remember, like one of the other purposes of this series is to bring in those people who felt alienated by, like, hey, I remember X-Men, and they try to pick up, and you're like, what's going on? This is definitely a good reset, we'll say.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's a good starting point.
Making it reaccessible again for a lot of people. So.
Okay, so you guys believe that as lapsed X-Men readers, you believe this is a genuinely good jumping on point then?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And right now, I mean, we won't cover into this stuff right now, but I mean, this launched a whole new set of X titles, like Marauders and Dawn of X-Men. I mean, there's so many titles that have launched after this that I'm gonna have to buy trades just to keep up.
New Mutants, X-Force,
Yeah.
the regular X-Men run. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a gang of them.
Yeah.
And if anyone is trying to decide on like, oh my god, like why, like I just bought spent like all my money buying House of X and Powers of X and all their variants. Like
I did.
Which one of these do I need to buy now? Well, obviously you need to buy X-Men because Hickman's writing that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you also probably want to buy New Mutants because Ed Brisson is the nominal writer for this. Hickman is also writing select issues of New Mutants as well. So that is probably the title that is second most key to his plans.
New Mutants and X-Men, I would agree. Yeah.
And I didn't really touch on the art side of the thing.
I want to bring that up.
But I was really impressed with Pepe Lazar and R.B. Silva's artwork. In both, like Pepe did mostly House of X and R.B. Silva did Powers of X. But as I was looking at it, I was like, dude, this is some of the best X-Men artwork I've seen since the Kubert brothers. And how I usually judge X-Men art is how I like how stylized Magneto is, and Wolverine, and Jean Grey or Marvel Girl, because those were some of like my favorite characters, and just the dynamic ways that were shown, like in the battle scene where the X-Men are trying to take out Mother Mold, and when you see some of these deaths, you feel it yourself. It's like, ah, damn, like these, like they literally went on this suicide mission and knew they weren't coming back, and just seeing how they were killed, like some of those scenes were like, I don't want to say they weren't like, ghastly graphic, but it was graphic enough to where like you kind of felt that in your heart, like, oh damn, not Scott, or oh damn, like Wolverine got disintegrated, and
I know,
Nightcrawler.
and Mystique got sucked into space. I hope she stays there.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I love the way that was portrayed, and then of course, going to Powers of X, I love R.B. Silva's drawings of. I love the way he portrayed Nimrod. Like Nimrod, like really looked like a menacing asshole mutant killer, and
A
he,
sanctimonious villain who loves to hear himself talk.
exactly, yeah, and like his build, it reminded me of like Apocalypse, like that big baddie with what you just said, a sanctimonious asshole that loves to hear himself talk. That just kind of menacing build, and just seeing the destruction and the environment of the future, it's just like it just brings back it brought back memories of Days of Future Past, of like, no matter what the X-Men do in present day, this almost like Judgment Day, this future is unavoidable. It's going to happen in some sort of way, and just seeing the X-Men in that period in time, it just seemed a little bit more chaotic than I've ever experienced before in an X-Men story. And you kind of feel their struggle, like, damn, everyone's just dying left and right. Is there no way to avoid this future? So I mean, the artwork was phenomenal. It was beautiful, and I loved a lot of the character designs.
Yeah, it's like I appreciate the fact that Larraz and Silva were able to like illustrate all 6 issues of their run. There weren't any fill-ins. It's like, yeah, and yeah, it's like I do think you're right about the art. The art from both of them was phenomenal. I mean, Larraz, I mean, both of them have been kicking around like in doing various Marvel and even X-Men related stuff for a while now. But I think that Larraz's stuff, it's definitely like sells like Hickman's dramatic vision, and same goes for Silva's. Like Silva kind of has like a more difficult job in the sense that he's got to like draw very like several different eras like within an issue. And the biggest issue I had with some of his like with his work is that occasionally like some of his Professor X kind of had like some weird expression on his face, and that was about it. But overall, it's like, yeah, the art for both of these series was fantastic, and unfortunately, like I think like Silva has like done like is going to do like one issue of X-Men coming up, but apparently I don't think either of them have like a specific presence in like in X-Men the X-Men series going forward, which is too bad. But then again, Lineal Yu is handling the first arc for Hickman's X-Men, and God knows that he does great work every time I see him. So
Yeah, and I can't remember a lot of the names offhand right now, but that was one great thing about the multiple variants for this run, was that you got to see a lot of artists on display show their interpretations of the X-Men, especially some of these connector covers.
oh yeah, it's like the like for me, it's like because I'm a filthy trade waiter. It's like I got the hardcover edition, and that features Mark Brooks's wraparound cover, which is like kind of the first like round of art released for this project, and and goddamn, it's like it is pretty impressive because you look at this, and like there's so much detail to absorb in here, and just wondering like how everything in here is going to fit together.
Yeah, and you got to see so many different artists and their interpretations on display, to where you might become a fan of a new artist and start following their work, or hope that they kind of continue doing X-Men material. So I mean, this storyline and this series of variant releases did expose me to a lot of new artists who I would assume were part of Marvel's, or at least one point Marvel's Young Guns program. So I really did enjoy picking up, even though it did hurt my bank account, a lot of these issues that I even have right now in hardcover or hard cases, displayed on my wall, especially some of these connector covers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, I guess we're kind of winding things down here. But overall, it's like I think it's like this is about as good as like a good as I could hope from a relaunch. I mean, yeah, it's like I got some issues, but what? But they feel kind of like minor at this point. And even if it is going to be one long walk back to the status quo, I I think that Hickman's like he's got some surprises planned for us. It's not going to be like just a straight line. And even then, it's like I've seen other such like walks back to the status quo, like with Dan Slott on Spider-Man, and those have even been pretty interesting, if not outstanding, in certain points. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I am all on board for this. And as far as going forward, I'll be picking up X-Men and New Mutants because those are probably like the most important ones for the overall run. But I've also heard like really good things about Benjamin Percy's X-Force as well. So gonna want to check that out too.
Yeah, definitely for me, this actually put more notice of the X-Men um, back, I guess, back into my buying rotation. Granted, I haven't been to the comic book store since, before Christmas, had to buy Christmas gifts and still paying off some, but I really do want to jump on board with what you recommended, X-Men, the X-Men run and New Mutants run. And I think this time around, I'll probably buy a little bit more trade paperbacks just so that they're easy to obtain and easy to read. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm definitely on board with this new run of X-Men.
yeah. Oh, and speaking of like the way that trade paperbacks, Marvel's also doing something different with this whole Dawn of X thing because they're also releasing like Dawn of X trade paperbacks, which collect like like a month's worth of X-Men issues.
Nice. So
Yeah, so
that
it's
may,
like for $18 you can get like all the like the first issue of all the new X-Men launch titles, like in like Dawn of X Volume One, then Dawn of X Volume Two, collect all the second issues, then Volume Three, collect number threes, and so on.
there you go. That's awesome. That makes it easier and more affordable because at $4 or $5 a pop, it gets pretty costly.
Yep,
Indeed.
sure does.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any thoughts on your end, John?
Nope, not really. I would say that, yeah, while I was on board with a lot of the issues, I did wind up getting the trade for this, and this volume is really nice. I'm just gonna tell you that. It's a nice hardcover with a slip cover on the outside, and the pages are just glorious. It's a really nice presentation. So, if you guys that are listening are curious, yeah, definitely you can go buy the trade. I think they're like into fifth printings on those issues, but I highly recommend this thing. It's great.
Yeah. So hey, so I guess like long live Krakoa. So as far as we're concerned.
Absolutely. All right. Do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Well, I guess I put it off long enough, so it's time to talk about best of 2020 in
All right.
February. Good time. Or
The best of night, best of
best of
2019. He's already into 2020, but yeah,
You're looking way too in the future.
he's very.
Indeed, it's like I got to start thinking about like like last year. It's like even though like I'm already gonna be a month into the this one by the time it happens.
Yep.
And I will say that yeah, it'll be like this will be showing up on there. It's just a question of where. So
All right, and we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
right, later's.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Not a
Always a
problem.
pleasure, Myron.
Mm-hmm.